Hello, and then welcome to the continuation of our web accessibility course. So, as part of the factors to consider in making your web accessible, you might want to consider the digital access. Now, the below are points that can actually help, or you would have to take into consideration when making your web accessible pertaining to digital access. So, first, you have offline capabilities. Okay, so you might want to make your website accessible just because it's not everyone who has strong internet, or maybe certain times of the day the internet might be weak. Okay, so just so you have your learners or audience have access to your content, um, regardless of the conditions of the internet, you might want to make them have the offline capability. So users will be able to download the course or the content when they have strong internet, and then when they don't have internet, or in the case of weaker internet, they can still have access to your content. You can see that in most of the learning platform, Coursera, Udemy, and the likes, they have offline capabilities. So you don't have to always worry about the internet. Once you have internet, you just download the courses for offline viewing. And I like that feature a lot because even when you are in remote areas, okay, you can still have access to the content. You might also want to look at the use of universal file types. Okay, some file types do not work on some devices or some platforms. So you might want to look at or consider or take into consideration the kind of file type that you're uploading or you're going to use on these platforms. Okay, so you might want to consider a universal file type, or a file type that can be like be used across all devices. Okay, so this can range from audio, videos, and the likes. So make sure your video format or your audio format is in a format that can be accessed, or can yet that's a cross-platform like accessibility or access. Okay, or some of these files can't even be played on like phones or even browsers. So you might want to take into consideration this factor. Now let's look at free and then affordable. So you might want to consider if like the service or, that your audience or your learners are using are free or affordable. That's the digital aspect. So the devices, are they affordable? Is it something that they can afford? Yes, if it's something they can afford, then that's great. If it's something that is they can afford, that's going to hinder people from accessing your web service. So you might want to consider this factor too. And then you might want to take into consideration giving or presenting your learners with hard copies. Okay, so hard copies, aside the digital format, or yes, or soft copies, you might want to consider issuing out hard copies to your learners. Okay, so your learners can download the hard copies, so they can also have um, that's a printed form of your lessons. Okay, so these are certain features or points that you can consider or you take into consideration when um, in relation to digital accessibility of your web content. Okay, so thank you, and then I'll see you in the next lesson. Thank you.